Back in the day, we used to always take the highways for hauling goods, but now we mostly stick to national roads. We only hit the highways if the national roads are unusable. There's just no other way around it, given how low freight rates are these days. If you don't do this, you simply can't make any money. Now, except for those running courier services, almost everyone prefers the national roads. The freight rates themselves aren't high to begin with, and then you've got these expensive fuel costs and tolls. We've got to find ways to cut costs wherever we can, or we just can't survive. Taking the back roads to save on fuel is pretty normal for us. Every little bit of saving counts. Nowadays, the experts are all about Euro-American emissions standards. No one talks about tolls as if they don't exist. Who is going to stand up for us truck drivers, right? No one. Before, tolls were charged based on the type of vehicle, class 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, and it didn't matter if the truck was empty or loaded. But then they switched to charging by weight, claiming it'd be cheaper for empty trucks and a bit more for loaded ones. But after they changed it, not only did we not pay less, we ended up paying more. And now it's the same charge whether the truck's empty or loaded. Every time they make a change, our costs just shoot up. Sure, there are highways everywhere now, but we simply can't afford them. We know highways are easier and less hassle, but if it doesn't pay, what can you do?
To save transportation costs, truck drivers in China prefer to use national roads. However, this cost-saving strategy is facing a setback. The Jiangsu provincial government recently announced that it will start collecting vehicle tolls at the newly built Suhui toll station on National Highway 205. The toll rates range from 10 to 15 yuan for passenger vehicles and 10 to 50 yuan for trucks. Imposition of tolls on national highways has sparked controversy, with commentators suggesting it signifies a resurgence of toll collection on non-highway roads. They argue that this move not only fails to rescue Chinese economy, but might backfire. The excessive charging of tolls highlights the local government's desperation in addressing the debt crisis. The news of toll collection on national highways surprised many. National roads are charging tolls too? This reaction is not unexpected. An article published in the People's Daily in 2009 indicated that a total of 1,420 toll stations on national, provincial, and county roads were abolished that year. Since then, toll collection on national roads has been a rare sight, leading many to believe that these roads were toll-free. It has been just over a decade since the abolishment of these tolls in 2009. A reporter from Qilu Evening News visited the site on November 12 and found that the toll station, the first of its kind on this road segment, connecting Suqian and Huai'an, was already functional. This development, along with other new toll stations, has drawn the ire of drivers and widespread public attention. National Highway 205, stretching 1,976 kilometers from Qinhuangdao in Hubei to Shenzhen in Guangdong, passing through places like Tianjin, Shandong, and Suzhou, is a vital transportation artery within Jiangsu province. Mr. Liu, a truck driver from Tangshan, who had been driving on National Highway 205 for 18 years, said, "We used to take the highways, but then it became too expensive with too many tolls. A few years ago, when tolls on the 205 were gradually abolished, I switched to national roads." On the G205, which Mr. Liu frequents, there was only one toll station in Xinyi, Jiangsu, which he chose to bypass. Now with the new Suhui toll station in Jiangsu, although not yet operational, Mr. Liu is already planning alternative routes. "I've been driving for many years and have only seen toll stations decreasing. This is the first time I've seen a new one being added." On the morning of November 11th, the reporter observed that the dual four-lane National Highway 205 expanded near the toll station. Each direction had 4 entrances, but only the outermost lane was opened as a mixed lane, while others were marked for lane maintenance. Locals view the imposition of tolls at the Suhui station on National Highway 205 as closely related to local finances. Earlier in the year, the Jiangsu Provincial Bureau of Statistics released the province's economic data for 2022, with Suqian and Huai'an ranking at the bottom in terms of GDP. Jiemian News reported that as early as the end of 2018, the Jiangsu Provincial Development and Reform Commission approved the feasibility study report for the Suhui toll station on National Highway 205 with an estimated investment of 69 million yuan. The toll station has since been completed and is about to start operating. This raises questions. Is it reasonable to spend over 60 million yuan to build a toll station in a situation of a 1 billion yuan in debt? How long will it take to recoup the investment? Since 2021, various provinces in China, including Anhui, Jiangsu, Hubei, Jilin, Shanxi, and Jiangsu, successfully announced the commencement of toll collections at national highway toll stations. Over the past 2 years, at least 10 new national highway toll stations have been added nationwide. The reinstatement of tolls on national highways, previously abolished, has raised public concerns about the legality of these charges, given that road maintenance fees are already included in fuel prices and tolls are separately charged on expressways. Charging tolls on national highways appears to be a form of double taxation. Moreover, there is a growing fear that once the toll collection starts in Jiangsu, it will soon become a nationwide practice. Analysts widely view the imposition of tolls on national highways as one of the measures to alleviate local financial crises. Governments across China are sinking into serious debt crises, further exacerbated by the decline in land revenue and other major financial sources due to the real estate downturn. Tightening finances have left local governments with no means to resolve the aftermath of the real estate market collapse. The continuous market downturn has inevitably led to the introduction of various charges. Yixin commentator Jiang Jianping argues that these national roads should not be toll roads. Their so-called repayment has no basis. Even if there was a basis, the repayment has already been made. Collecting tolls again now is not just a matter of illegal administration, it actually smells a bit like highway robbery. Jiang Jianping adds, if national roads start charging tolls, many small and micro enterprises won't be able to bear it. They will close down, leading to massive unemployment. We have seen this situation a decade ago. Roads and highways are the lifelines of an economy. Setting up checkpoints and illegally collecting tolls damages the entire nation's economy. This is absolutely a step backwards. An online Chinese author, Jing Chu, points out that the financial straits of local governments are dire. Restarting toll collections on national highways will not only fail to rescue China's economy, but will backfire. This results in double charging. You've already included the road maintenance fee in the fuel price, and now you're charging again. Local governments are facing financial crises, and the central government can't provide funds, leaving no choice. China already has low wages, low welfare, low social security systems, and now, by ruthlessly extracting more from the people, they become even poorer and lose purchasing power. It's a vicious cycle that severely damages the economic environment of the entire country. This news has sparked heated debates among netizens. A netizen commented that the only way for ordinary people is to not buy cars, not to marry, not to have children, not to buy houses, and to end the unfairness with their generation. Another netizen followed up, commenting, completely eradicate the leaks, leave them with nothing to harvest. A user on the social media platform X stated, national road tolls, they've lost all shame. Everyone understands, with reduced fiscal revenue, it's hard to resolve civil servants' salary issues. At this juncture, the right approach should be to streamline government and cut redundant staff. If survival depends on exploiting the people, how is that different from drinking poison to quench thirst? Amid concerns over local government debt risks in China, the Beijing authorities announced on October 24th that they would issue an additional 1 trillion yuan in special national bonds in the fourth quarter of this year to repay local government debts. However, this move by the authorities does not fundamentally solve the problem, and the reality of tight local finances remains unchanged. In early October, Jiangsu province, which recently restarted toll collection, was one of the provinces that made the announcement to encourage state-owned enterprise employees and government officials to venture into business. The announcement stated that those leaving their positions for 3 years not only retain their roles, but can also continue to participate in social insurance and occupational annuities at their original work departments. Analysts say this indicates that Jiangsu's debt crisis is more severe, and downsizing is an attempt to reduce the debt burden. Many netizens question why only staff within the system are offered various protections when starting businesses, while all other industries in China are struggling. They criticize this is another form of privilege. Financial expert Qiu Mingquan recently stated on Taiwan's Set News program, Shocking Newsline, that Guangdong province tops China's GDP in 2022, with Jiangsu province ranking second. However, it's now rumored that Nanjing, the capital of Jiangsu, can't pay civil servants' salaries. Qiu Mingquan mentioned that the media revealed that Nanjing in Jiangsu province is really struggling. The local electricity consumption has rapidly declined, so power plants are currently only operating half of their units. Industries including construction, chemical, machinery, and automotive are all shrinking. Coupled with falling birth rates and fewer students, reductions and pay cuts are occurring among teachers, health institutes, and research institutes. Qiu Mingquan believes that China's economy might regress by 10 years. In addition to encouraging staff in Jiangsu province to leave their posts for entrepreneurship, other local governments have also reported collective pay cuts for civil servants. According to think tank Anhui, the scope of pay cuts is not limited to currently employed civil servants in government agencies, but also includes retired civil servants, staff of public institutions, and some financial institutions, such as stock exchanges. Essentially, anyone financed by the government is likely to face pay cuts. The matter of reducing civil servant salaries is one that official sources rarely document publicly, with many of these actions being undertaken discreetly. Information and awareness regarding this issue within society predominantly circulate through informal channels. For instance, in mid-September this year, domestic media reported a possible nationwide reduction in civil servant wages, rumored to be officially implemented in 2024. The report mentioned that various national departments had adjusted civil servant salaries by about 5% to 10%. Official responses indicated that this policy was not a comprehensive wage reduction, nor was it aimed at cutting civil servant benefits, but rather to weed out underperforming, incompetent staff. In reality, pay cuts for civil servants and public institution employees have indeed become widespread, especially evident in the past 2 years. As early as June last year, Anhui had reported that civil servants in multiple regions across China, including Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Fujian, Shanghai, Guangdong, including Shenzhen, and Beijing, had received notifications of pay cuts ranging between 15% to 20%. For instance, civil servants in Zhuhai experienced a yearly income reduction of 60,000 to 80,000 yuan, while those in Shenzhen saw cuts between 50,000 to 100,000 yuan. The civil service systems in Beijing and Tianjin had either completed salary reductions or had clear plans for cuts. Some areas in Guangdong had already started delaying subsidy payments. In Shanghai, the annual salary of department-level officials had been reduced from 350,000 to 200,000 yuan, and director-level civil servants saw their annual salary cut from 240,000 yuan to 150,000 yuan. In Zhejiang, income for personnel in government and public institutions dropped by approximately 25%, with some organizations in Hangzhou experiencing pay cuts as high as 40%. During the National Day holiday in October this year, Anhui researchers delved deeper into the issue of pay cuts, finding that the extent of salary reductions for internal system personnel might be greater than what media rumors suggested. The magnitude of pay cuts varies significantly across regions and job ranks. In more economically developed areas, the extent of pay reductions is larger. For example, the average salary cut for civil servants in Shenzhen might be over 30%. The higher the official's rank and salary base, the more significant the reduction. In Shenzhen, the salaries of ministerial and vice-ministerial level officials were almost halved. On September 30th, Radio Free Asia cited multiple insiders, revealing that economic powerhouses such as Jiangsu, Tianjin, and Guangdong face civil servant pay cuts or wage arrears due to fiscal exhaustion, affecting even the police. Ms. Yan, a retired teacher from a government institution in Tianjin, mentioned that police in Tianjin, Nanjing, and Dalian had their salaries reduced by 20%, a phenomenon emerging after the pandemic. She said, "The iron rice bowl and golden rice bowl perceived by the public are now facing pay cuts, and it's not just happening in one place." Veteran mainland journalist Gao Yu, using the social media platform X, cited a report by today's headlines stating that from November 1st onward, pay cuts would be implemented for 8 categories of personnel. 1. Civil servants. 2. Public institution staff. 3. State-owned enterprise executives. 4. Financial institution employees. 5. Teachers. 6. Medical staff. 7. Enterprise and institution workers. And 8. Other key talents in various fields. There have also been calls to cancel pensions, indicating that it's time for the national belt-tightening. She later added, "From my understanding, some departments in Beijing have already seen their various subsidies reduced by nearly 50%, exceeding 20% of their monthly income." A recent article was published on the Chinese portal website NetEase, titled "Overnight, Salary Reductions Across Multiple Departments, Nationwide Employee Pay Cuts Starting November 22nd. It read, "An unprecedented wave of salary reductions is sweeping the nation, affecting numerous industries, including finance, real estate, manufacturing, retail, and services. From bustling cities to quiet villages, from white-collar elites to grassroots employees, the storm's impact is everywhere." On November 8th, a Chinese article online about the vicious cycle sparked by civil servant pay cuts gained attention. The article quoted experts who suggested that pay cuts could lead to a vicious cycle, affecting civil servants' quality of life and morale. Prolonged pay cuts could spread dissatisfaction within the government, creating a negative atmosphere. Statistics show that the CCP is currently financially supporting over 80 million personnel, with salary expenses accounting for over 40% of national tax revenue. This year, China reached a historic turning point. Its population began to decrease. Based on the population growth patterns of developed countries, this negative growth is largely irreversible. With the total population decreasing, the need for public officials naturally diminishes. More crucially, with the population outflow, the city shrinks, leading to a severe imbalance between the population and financial support. Simply put, the Chinese public can no longer afford to support so many civil servants. Some netizens expressed concern that with civil servants facing pay cuts, the common people might suffer even more. Even with reduced salaries, civil servants still wield power and might resort to exploiting their authority for personal gain. The future may see an increase in various fines. Overseas commentator Wang He analyzed that a government would not cut civil servant salaries unless absolutely necessary, as it is a significant blow. Everyone would lie flat and stop working for you, making governance impossible. However, the CCP's resorting to this measure indicates severe fiscal strain. Even with pay cuts, civil servants are still in a better position than the average citizen, so those working for the government are unlikely to abandon their positions, though they might complain privately. But with the widespread dissatisfaction, the likelihood of arbitrary fines and charges increases, leading to greater social disorder. Wang He pointed out that pay cuts, especially sensitive for civil servants, could fragment China's bureaucratic system and cadre. Without the bureaucratic layer to execute policies, the CCP rule could quickly collapse. How large is China's local debt? According to data from the Ministry of Finance, from January to September, China's general public budget revenue totaled 16.6 billion yuan, with expenditures of 19.7 billion yuan, resulting in a fiscal gap of 3.1 trillion yuan. However, current official economic indicators suggest that the fiscal gap is widening and debt is a significant issue. Local debt, in particular, has become an endless pit, causing great concern for the authorities. Li Daokui, dean of the Institute for China's Economic Thought and Practice at Tsinghua University, recently wrote that the total amount of local debt in China in 2020 was close to 90 trillion yuan, accounting for about 88% of the GDP at that time. This figure is much higher than most estimates, such as the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, which typically put it around 60 trillion yuan, accounting for just over 50% of the GDP. Li Daokui believes that China's local debt is extremely high, approximately 90% of GDP, rendering local governments unable to pay interest and repay the debt. If left unaddressed, local debt would be unsustainable, resulting in borrowing new loans to repay old ones. Taipei academic Fang Cunyi summarized that under the increasingly centralized and authoritarian regime of the CCP, many signs indicate that Xi Jinping, even at the expense of the economy, is unlikely to return to the path of reform and opening up. If more system riders become unemployed, it will intensify social conflicts and cause even more headaches for the Chinese government, with the impact potentially spreading throughout China, and not just limited to a few provinces like Jiangsu.